Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, to the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai, and the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as they are the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalia, and this video is about the nation of Edom, who are these so-called white people, and they are the wicked man. And it is important to know and understand who and what they are, and they're the wicked. All right, in the book of Malachi, chapter 1 and verse 4, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord Yahweh hath indignation forever. So the Lord does not like the Edomites and refers to them as the wicked. And actually in verse 3 it says, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. So Yahweh Shemishai hates Edomites. Esau is their forefather, and they're the wicked. All right, and that is clear that they are the wicked. All right, here it is. I have this image here from this person, and it says, despite making up only 28% of the USA population, FBI data shows that white men are, and you can see the statistics there, they have a very high percentage regarding all of these situations, right? These wicked situations. All right, and this speaks to their nature. All right, because this is who and what they are. They cannot change their makeup. This is how Yahweh Shemishai made them. So this isn't surprising for those of us in the truth. All right, now what has happened in this world is that Esau, being in his blessing, the scriptures say in the book of Job chapter 9 and verse 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, who are these so-called white people, the Edomites. He covered the faces of the judges thereof, if not wherein who is he. So what Esau has done is that he has deceived the world. He has put a great deception out there into the world, right, to make the world believe that he is the Lord's holy chosen people, to make the world believe that the Most High is likened unto them and how they look. And they did that as well by way of their the son of the Most High, whose name is Yahushai, that they changed his image, right? And so they claim our history. They have just lied to the world regarding everything, and that's why they're the devil the Bible speaks of, the great deceiver. Okay, so they made the world believe that they're this great people, and that they're always there to help, and that they're so pure and so righteous, and that's why they named themselves white in, I believe it was in 1948. Let me double check. No, 1948 was when they, which is another part of their lies and deception, when they said that the state of Israel came about. But there's a certain year, I'm forgetting, where they denoted themselves as white and they called us black. And when you look into the etymology of that, it's white really goes into pure and clean and righteous. And so they labeled themselves that, all right, to appear as such. And then they labeled us black, which means to be devoid of light and everything that's negative. But the truth about it is that the children of Israel, we are actually white by true definition, and the children of Edom, they are black because they're the wicked. And so they commit all of these things. Now, regarding these kinds of statistics, it shows this, and yes, it shows to their nature. But then, the statistics can't be fully what it really is, because there are two things. First of all, there are a whole bunch of crimes that these so-called white people commit that they get away with and it's not recorded. All right, so I'm sure the numbers are higher regarding that. But then also, right, there are a whole bunch of Edomites walking around looking like not so-called white people. And so because this is a carnal world and not a spiritual world, they just take people face value for what they look like, and they say, oh, you are this and you are that. But really you are what your father is, and by way of the spirit of your father. So if your father is an Edomite, then you're an Edomite no matter what you look like. If your father's an Israelite, then you're an Israelite no matter what you look like. So you have a whole bunch of tiers, right, walking around, people who look like our people but are actually Edomites, actually committing some of these crimes, and most certainly committing wickedness, because that's what they are. They're the wicked, right? The scriptures say that they are the basest of men, right? Daniel 4 and verse 17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men, right? Setteth up over it the basis of men. Who are the basis of men? The Edomites. All right, and when we look at the word basest here, it will go into the word base, which says is synonymous with everything that is evil, wicked, immoral, sinful, vile, cheap, degenerate, reprobate, dishonest, corrupt, debased, shameful, scandalous, abominable, disgusting, abhorrent, wretched, contemptible, despicable, all of these things, man. So this is the nature of the Edomites, these so-called white people. So them having these high statistics is par for the course. Of course, they would have these high statistics regarding committing all of this wickedness. Okay. So then also, it mentions their nature. In the book of Job, chapter 30, and verse 3, for want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as a thief, as after a thief. So these so-called white people, these Edomites who, in this rulership, their blessing, the fatness of the earth, the dew of heaven, and by the sword will they rule, they have put out a deception of trying to appear as something greater than they are. But that is all just for show. All right, no matter how clean they may look, or how righteous they pretend to be, or that they claim that they want to uphold a certain standard, which in America, right? America's their main hub. America's Babylon the Great, and they say that America is a God-fearing country, right? And they push that they well, firstly, when they do say that America's a God-fearing country, what God are they serving? So you even have to watch that and observe that keenly, because they're not talking about Yahweh Shemi Shai. They're talking about what they worship on the left-hand side, But then they also do use the Bible, right? They try to say that they live righteously by way of the Bible, but they do no such thing. Okay, because when you look at America and you look at these Edomite sovereign countries, they establish complete wickedness. All right, they do not establish the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shemi Shai. They establish the literal opposite. They allow certain things that are spoken about very clearly in the scriptures to not do. They allow it, they promote it, right there in America and the rest of the Edomite sovereign nations. And then because this is Esau's kingdom, from their dominion, that then spreads to the rest of the world, right? As the scriptures say, they have made, to paraphrase, drunk the nations drunk with the wine of the fornication, right? Which is their ways, their philosophy, their lifestyle, which is all about wickedness, right? And they can't help it, right? The scriptures say that is there any as profane as Esau, who sold his birthright for a morsel of meat in the book of Hebrews, right? Let me actually get that real quick. I think it's Hebrews 12. Yes, Hebrews 12 and verse 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. All right, and then profane. Let's look at that definition real quick. Profane, not relating to that which is sacred or religious, secular, okay, of a person or their behavior not respectful of religious practice, irreverent. All right. So, in other words, what it's really saying is that they are not, their spirit is not turned towards Yahweh Shemishai. Okay. That's what it's saying. Let's look here at profane, biblos, ungodly, unhallowed. Right. So that's what they are. They're ungodly because Yahweh Shemishai is not with them. Right. We are godly. You know what I'm saying? We are holy because we're separate. We're separate from the rest of the nations because we were given the law, statutes, and commandments, the promises, the covenants, everything. We're given the ultimate blessing. Okay, but Esau was not. But this is what they are, man. Going back to the Job 30 and verse 5, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as a thief. So when people saw, Job is telling us that when people saw Edomites, when people saw so-called white people, they would see that kind, and they would shoo them away. They would rush them. You know, like out here in Jamaica, you know, tribe of Benjamin, you know, predominantly out here, has a certain behavior when it is that they are interacting with the homeless dogs, you know, and the mangy dogs out here. They run them, right? That's how I envision what Job is saying, that they would run the Edomites, like they would see them like a thief. Well, knowing their nature, they are thieves, okay? They're the biggest thieves, okay? But when they saw them, they were running them. It says to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks, right? So they were like pushed out from society and civilization, and they had to reside in places that kept them reclusive, okay? Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. Let me see what it says, braid, for braid here. They cried out, right? So then they were also crying out. Can you imagine? They were children of fools, yeah, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. So they are viler than the earth. The Edomites, these so-called white people. And the scriptures say it, man. They're of base men. They're children of base men. They're sons of the wicked man. All right. So this kind of behavior and this kind of nature from them is nothing to be surprised about. Okay. Nothing to be surprised about. But the thing about what they do as well is that for what they do and for their nature, they like to spin it and turn it against us, right? But that's that perpetual hatred that they have against us, the children of Israel, because they like to. Most people wouldn't know about this or believe it because of all of the lies and propaganda that Esau will put out there to show our people as the face of everything that is bad and evil. And that is not to say that Jake isn't doing these things, because our people are doing these things as we're suffering under the curses and we're in these chains of darkness, which is the flesh. But it's a completely different situation. The nation of Israel is in a completely different lot than the nation of Edom. All right? They are that this way because this is how they're built and they will never change. We are this way because we're in the chains of darkness, the flesh, suffering under the curses. But our glory is coming, where we're going to have the law, statutes, and commandments written within us. But the Edomites, they will always be this kind of way, right? So, for everything that they have done, all of the false accusing and everything that they have done to us, the Lord is going to judge them. And for being wicked, the Lord is going to judge them. Let me see, I think it's Amos. Maybe it's Amos 1. Amos 1 and verse 11, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever, right? So, they're going to pay for everything that they've done to us, man. And they have done some very vile and wicked and abominable things to our people, while they've had our people as slaves. But the scriptures say that he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Revelation chapter 13 verse 10. So this will be done unto the Edomites, man, the wicked. The book of Job says, know this, since man was placed upon earth, that the joy of the hypocrites is but for a moment. Job chapter 20 and verse 4, knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? He shall fly away as a dream, and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. Yea, Yahweh Shemishai, the ultimate judgment for Esau, Edom, is that the nation will cease to exist. The Lord is going to do away with the nation of the wicked. All right, and this is their judgment, man. So, everything with what's going on, how they're operating, the things that they do, the lies, the deception, everything is par for the course, man. All right, this is just their makeup, But yeah, man, this kind of statistic is not surprising any which way at all, but they do enjoy putting this kind of energy on Jake to put our people as the face of. It's just like with the whole EBT thing in America, right? The food stamps situation, they using our people as the face of it to then have the rest of the people, the Edomites and the rest of the nations build more hatred towards our people, because they're saying, oh, it's these our people, the Israelites, who are benefiting the most, and then people feel some type of way. But really, when you look at the actual statistics, it's so-called white-looking people that are the ones that are benefiting from it the most. But this is just how the narrative is in this world, man. The world is literally against us, against the Lord's holy chosen people, and this is how it's supposed to be until Yahushua returns. All right, but that's just what it is. Okay, never trust thine enemy. All right, do not trust these Edomites, man. These so-called white people. They're not your friend, and they're not. They will never actually help you. And if it is that you do encounter a so-called white person that, has such a great affinity towards you and seems like the homie, it's because he most likely and probably is an Israelite, but looks like a so-called white man, because there are many of them about. All right, so anyway, with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai by Shemaka Kodesh. Shalom.